Welcome back. In this segment, we are going to analyze the shapes and volumes of hands and feet. So we're going to start by enclosing the hand in a box. Okay, so we're going to establish our length of the hand, divide this line in the middle, and this is going to be the width of the hand. Okay, so statistically speaking, these are going to be the relationship between height and length of the hand. 7/8 of one hand being the ideal proportion for the hand. So now within this box, I'm going to see how we can subdivide the various segments of the hand by simply measuring them and go over them with you. So if I look at the hand, I measure the hand, these two segments of the hand, the palmar side and the finger, the digits, we're going to see how the palm of the hand is going to be bigger than this segment here. Okay, so now I go back here to the drawing board, and I can divide this square in two equal segments, and then I'm going to move up above a little bit, so that I know that now in this segment in here I'm going to have the palmar portion, and in here I'm going to have the digits, the fingers. Okay, so but let's go back a second, and we want to also analyze the general shape of the hand, of the two segments, and you're going to see that this portion in here is going to be squarish. See that? It could be squarish. And this portion in here is going to be tapering. So let's draw this portion in here as a squarish form, like this. Okay? And then we're going to draw this portion here as a tapering form. We keep it very, very loose now like this, because then we had to add a little bit more details. Okay, so if I turn my hand over and I show the dorsal portion, though, let's see what the proportions are. So find the line of the wrist here, okay, and I'm going to measure from the line of the wrist to the knuckle here, and I compare it to half, and I see that suddenly my fingers got longer. The thing is that in reality, when I measure from the palmar side, I measure from here. The knuckles are going to be here. So this will make the finger appear longer from the dorsal view and shorter from the palmar view. So I have to account for that. So in here, I'm going to create another shape, but this time, instead of showing the palm of the hand squarish like this, I can introduce a slightly different shape of the palm of the hand, which is going to be a little bit narrower and more elongated, okay? And over it, put a similar shape that is going to be the finger. So at this level here, this line here, the base of the fingers, I'm going to have it above the middle. At this level here, I can put the line of the knuckle kind of at the same level as the line of the middle of the hand. Okay, let's start looking into the relative length, the specific length of the various fingers. So if I get my hand like this, if I look at, I want to start by analyzing the thumb. Okay, so keep keep an eye on only this portion here of the hand, the palmar portion. So I want to find where this is, where this angle here is. I can say that is more or less halfway. See, this halfway the length of the palm. So take this length in here, divide it into equal segments, and now my thumb is going to start from the bottom here of the palm, come up until this level here. See that? Up at this level, and then I move on to the next segment. I bring it up. And you see how this segment here is going to be halfway up the upper half. See that? Pretty easy, no? So now I have this segment in here, divided in half, and I'm going to have this segment coming up like this. And then let's see, the last segment is going to go just above the line of the base of the fingers. So this is my line of the base of the fingers. This is going to come up like this, just above this line. And this is going to be the thumb. I want to then add this volume here, and I have now blocked in the basic proportions and length of the thumb. So now let's move on to the fingers. If I look at the relative length of the fingers, I'm going to see that the middle finger is the longest, but it is not going to be in the middle. So considering that this is the longest, I'm going to divide the hand in half, starting with this finger. So I'm going to have 1.5 fingers to the left of the middle finger and 2.5 fingers to the right of this finger here. So what I'm going to do is, again, I've seen that this is not the middle. Okay, actually, let me get a black. And so the center will be offset. So starting from the center, I'm going to move the middle of the hand using the middle finger as axis, a little bit toward the thumb. This is where the length of the hand will peak, okay? So I also want to see the base of the middle finger, where it is. And if I line up this measurement here with this measurement here with this measurement here, I'm going to see that this is the highest point in the palm. This is the second highest, this is the third. So I'm going to create a line like this here and a line like this here. See that? So using this as center, I'm going to have the highest point, middle point, lowest point. 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So now, what I want to do, actually, let me draw it black so it's going to become more evident. What I want to do, I want to start positioning the middle finger here. So the middle finger is going to be the longest finger here and here. And then I'm going to have the second longest finger is going to be the ring finger, okay? So I'm going to make it slightly shorter here, here, and here. I want to be careful at this point not to draw a line, the line that defines the fingers. Draw them like this, and then immediately up to the next finger. That is unnatural. I'm going to have here, between one finger and another finger, an horizontal portion. So down, horizontal, straight, and up. Down, straight, up. Okay? So the third finger, obviously in length, is going to be the index. So take this measurement here, make it a little bit shorter, and now put in the index finger. Okay? The pinky is going to be the shortest, as we all know. So I'm going to position the pinky in here, and the pinky can be actually more than a phalanx shorter than the longest finger. See, this is a phalanx. This is 1.5 shorter. So make it noticeably shorter than the middle finger. So what we want to notice now is that in terms of overall shape of the hand, the contour of the hand, I'm going to have here, on this side here, a very steep peak. On this side in here, past the middle finger, this line in here is going to be much more gradual, and this is the typical shape behavior of the profile of the finger. So one pattern that my former professor Martha Meyer-Rebacher taught me is this. We're going to start from the, this is not a way of analyzing the pattern of the fingers. We start from the longest finger, okay, here, and then we go to the second longest, then to the third, and then to the fourth, and then down to the thumb. So you're gonna have this kind of skiing slopes, kind of zigging and zagging between the fingers, okay? So all these are mnemonic devices that will help you in remembering the patterns, the proportions of the hands and the fingers. So let's move on to the dorsal view of the hand, and we're going to see similarly the thumb now that is going to be positioned similarly to this one. So halfway here, okay, it's up, and then halfway here we're going to have the last segment, okay? But in this case, instead of having this group of muscles in here going over the palm, I'm going to have a muscle here going over the thumb, okay? So we have the reversed situation, okay? So now, similarly, the knuckles are going to be oriented in the same way as that, except this line is going to be less visible. Now, let's position middle finger. Okay. See, now the fingers from this view will appear to be longer. Okay. The ring finger, and in this case, in here, what you can do, you can go closer to the base. The base of this finger can go closer to the base of this other finger in here, because we're going to have a set of wrinkles that which we are going to examine. And I'm going to have a very specific pattern. So pinky, and then index. Now, this is a statistical set of relationship, proportion between the fingers, but in some cases, especially women will tend to have the index as the second longest finger. So again, keep in mind that all these measurements are statistics, and they're going to be variation within them. Okay, now here, what I would like to show you is the pattern of the wrinkles, okay, at the base of the fingers. I'm going to have, at the base of the index, I'm going to, the middle finger, I apologize, at the base of the middle finger, I'm going to have a wrinkle that goes this way, and a wrinkle that goes this way. And at the base of the ring finger toward the pinky, a wrinkle goes this way. That's it. That's always the case. You're not going to have other patterns for the wrinkles. So now, another thing that I want to examine is the lines that are produced by the tendons of the fingers. No? So if I keep these lines going, this is going to be the wrist. Okay? If I keep these lines going, I see that they're going to merge. Not at the wrist, but in a point past the wrist, an inch below the wrist or so. Doesn't really matter exactly how much, but all these lines are going to converge in a point below the wrist, because in here I'm going to have a thick tendon that eventually divides into the single tendons that go to the individual fingers, okay? So starting from the middle finger here, I'm going to have a tendon coming down like this, okay? A tendon here coming down like this, okay? And so on. And then from here, tendon coming down like that, okay? So you want to maintain this sort of configuration for the tendons of the hand, because if you have this tendon all merging in a narrow point like this, they're going to look unnatural, because the tendon here is fairly thick, and if you do this, you're going to end up with a Mickey Mouse hand, okay, the Mickey Mouse glove with all those. That's not natural. That's a comic book, that cartoonish, so you don't want that. We're after the realistic effect. So as you can see now, the fingers will always converge, keeping your hand fairly relaxed with the fingers closed, will converge to a point which, you know, is far out away from the length of the hand, but the finger will tend to converge like this. How much will depend on the individual. So let's move on now onto another configuration of the hand, where we're going to analyze how the hand relates to the wrist. Okay, so if I look at my hand like this, quickly I can redraw my hand using the notion that I have just examined. Squarish hand, the rhomboidal top portion here, the thumb halfway here, and then to the top in here. So if I examine my hand like this, I'm going to see that, sorry, it's a kind of dirt, but you can see it anyway. I'm going to see that if I keep this line going toward the hand, I'm going to have a thin slice of hand cut off. See that? Thin slice. But if I keep, so it's going to go pretty much not to the half of the pinky, but, you know, cut the thin slice off the pinky. But if you keep going with this line in here, I'm going to cut off a whole finger. See that? So, meaning the wrist is not going to be positioned straight in the middle of the width of the hand. It's going to be offset to the right here. Well, to the right in this case, of course. You know. So, as I draw my wrist, I want to do this. Keep in mind that all this portion in here of the hand will be outside the width of the wrist. And then, likewise here, I'm going to have a much narrower portion here, sticking out like this. Okay. And this is always the case. So, if now I make a fist with a hand, I'm going to see that the general volume of the hand is not going to be horizontal and perpendicular to the wrist, but is going to be at an angle. So keep your hand relaxed and close it. You're inevitably going to have an axis oriented this way. See that? So what I want to do, I want to draw a rectangular shape like this. Okay, and protruding a little bit from the pinky side here. I'm going to have this portion of the pinky protruding away from the line of the ulna, and this portion here from the line of the radius protruding much more. Okay, so I want to make sure that I have the fist, the shape of the hand, at an angle. A little bit more, a little bit less, but keeping it like this is not going to be natural. You can draw it like this, but it's not going to be the natural way of closing the hand. But most of all, you want always to maintain this portion of the hand protruding past the margin of the radius. Okay. So what I'm going to do in here, I'm going to position 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers. Okay, like this. And the thumb is going to go over that. Okay, so now let's draw it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's draw it a little bit more carefully. Now I'm going to have index, the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky. Okay, so you want to have, again, this sort of configuration of the hand. See that? Okay, so now let's look at the hand as a basic assemblage of solid and volumes. This way I can make my life simpler when I draw the hand. The hand can be incredibly complicated. So I want just to break it down to two basic volumes, well, two basic sets of volumes. One is going to be the palmar portion. The palmar portion is not going to be a flat shape. It's going to be slightly curved, see? And the peak of the form is going to be, slightly curved, and the peak of the form is going to be along the line of the middle finger. So now we're going to analyze this form in here, the palmar view, as a solid, slightly curved solid, you see that? And then I'm going to have, again, this is the line of the middle finger. In here, which is the peak, I'm going to have an incline playing this way, and past that, an incline playing this way. And this is going to be the peak of the form, no? Along the middle finger, and the tendon of the middle finger. Now, from attached to this plane here, we're seeing that I can put my fingers. Now, as I showed you before here, so I'm going to have, this is the base of the middle finger, this base of the middle finger. Now we're going to have next to it, on the side of the thumb, one finger here. So my thumb is going to be here. Now here, past toward the pinky, I'm going to have two fingers, 1 and 2. Okay. So what I want to do now, I can start adding the segments of the fingers. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So this is going to be the first segment of the fingers. You know? And then add the next segment and the next segment again. As you can see, if I do this, I'm going to have under control the shape and direction of the fingers, and I can create some sort of correspondence between the knuckles in this case. You know? This will help me to think, if I hold my hand like this, to help to think, okay, the light comes from here, this portion will be lighted, this portion a little bit less, this portion is going to be half tone, this portion is going to be, or mid-tone, this portion is going to have a shading. Okay, so you're going to maintain a volumetric, a global volumetric understanding of the form and volumes of the hand. So now let's take a look at the volumes and shapes of the foot. So now let's examine the basic volume and shape of the foot. Okay, I like to start drawing the feet with the ball of the heel. It gives me a big, nice volume that I can start with. From here, I'm going to draw the plant of the feet here, connect this forming here with the back of the lower leg, and create a slightly flaring out outlining here. This is going to be the Achilles tendon. From the front, I come in, okay, move out like this. Remember that sort of reversed conical, actually the conical shape that we saw before, no? And from here, I'm going to create a nice curved line like this that culminates with the toes. So in this point in here, in this position here, I'm going to position all my toes in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, and sometimes I can see the big toe. Sometimes I don't see the big toe. So for now, I'm going to leave it alone. So now let's compare the side view in here with the front view, where I can appreciate specific slopes in the foot. Okay, so this is going to be the lateral side. This is going to be the medial side, the middle. Okay, so I'm going to create a form that is not symmetric. By now we know this. There's no symmetry within the form. Okay, subdivided in half at the level of the peak. Okay, and on this side in here, on the middle side, I'm going to put the big toe here, more or less at the level of the peak here. Okay, and then on this side where the slope is more gentle, I'm going to position all the other toes here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want the side of the foot to be protruding, the width of the foot compared to the width, the maximum width of the big toe, okay, like this. In here, I'm going to position my leg with the malleoli, the ankles, and I want to show again, make sure that I have this sort of reversed conical shape. So this angle in here will be given by the tendons of the extensor digitorum that comes down from the leg and moves down to the foot. It is important that you do this because this will give the foot that natural shape and look as you draw it. Many times I see feet drawn like this, where there is a very direct change of angle and they will look unnatural. You have to add this intermediate passage between the lower leg and the foot. Okay, so this lateral slope is going to be gentle, wider, and in here I'm going to have the tendons of second, third, fourth, and fifth toe. Along this region here, I'm going to have the tendon of the big toe, and this portion here, this medial portion here, is going to be sloping much more evidently than this portion in here, okay? On the side here, this slope kind of stops, and I'm going to have a flattening of the form in here, okay? Okay, so now let's look at the basic shape of the foot from the top. Okay, again, I like to start with the heel around this shape, and then I'm going to draw. This is going to be the medial, so the middle, and this is going to be the lateral, the external shape. I'm going to draw a widening of the foot as it moves away from the heel, but then the maximum width on the medial side is going to be higher than the maximum width on the lateral side. On this side, then, as I reach the maximum width, I'm going to come in gently here, and this will give me the line of the medial line of the big toe here. Okay, so this line toward the middle is going to be at an angle. This line in here, dividing the big toe, that includes the big toe, is going to be straight. So now, from here, I can have this general shape of the contour of the foot coming down like this, clearly sloping. I could have the big toe the same length as the second toe, or the second toe could be slightly longer. Okay, so I would add a little bit of an extra angle to the whole thing. It's a minimal thing, so you can draw them pretty much the same length, big toe and second toe, and then from here slope down toward the other toes. Okay, so in this space in here, I'm going to draw the four remaining toes. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this is going to be the typical direction that the toes are going to have. The big toe is going to point forward. The second, third, and fourth toes are going to be slightly angled outward. The pinky will come in and stop these three toes from falling off. It looks like two bookends, see? I'm going to have on one extremity a small bookend here stopping these three books from toppling over, and the big toe here giving the direction forward and stopping, sandwiching these three toes between the two of them. Another configuration for the foot is this. I have, starting with again with the heel, moving up with the medial line and the lateral line, keeping in mind that the maximum width medially is going to be higher, and the lateral width is going to be a little bit lower. I'm going to have this top portion of the toes not so steep. See that? It's going to be somehow flatter. The peak is not going to be so evident. So what you want to do, you want to take off your shoes and socks and then check out your own feet. We all have this proportion, this basic proportion. It helps greatly if you can then translate these schematic images into a behavior that you can check and see in yourself, your friends, etc. So now let's look at the foot as a three-quarter view. Start again with the heel, okay? And then I'm going to create my basic shape of the foot like this, okay? Thinking of this as a different set of planes coming together like this, no? With the peak of the form here at the level of the tendon of the big toe. And I want to see now at the organization of the angle of the toes, how they are organized. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the big toe. They, starting from the pinky, I'm going to see that the portion of the toe that is standing from the foot is going to be directed upward, or either upward like this, or horizontally like this. The second segment is going to be directed either, or actually going to be directed only one way, downward like this, okay? 1 and 2. So either this or this, but never like this. The toes are never going to be like that. Those are little sausages. You don't want that. You want this. This will give you a sense of articulation, a sense of joined part. They have a dynamism, they have power, they have movement, okay? So I'm going to draw all my toes now like this. See, now I can convey the idea that these toes are ready to go, are ready to grab. The big toe, though, is not going to be as much angled. It's going to be pretty much straight, okay? So if I want to add a little bit of shadow in here to see how the light will behave on these forms, I'm going to have these toes in here catching light, okay? This portion in here catching light, because with the light coming from here, it's going to be directed toward here. But this portion here being slightly angled like that. So I'm going to have now this sort of behavior that is typical of the toes. Down, up, down, or down, forward, down. And this pretty much wraps it up for what concerns the shape and volume of hands and feet. In the next lesson, we're going to see the basic planes of the face and the basic muscle of the face, in addition with the volume and muscles of the neck. See you then.